That's amazing. And this shows how great our Republicans and Democrats are and how they do work together. Like, people are always talking about how they don't work together on anything. Like, they're going to shut down the government. They disagree. This shows they agree.
Can you just scroll down so I'm not looking at that ad? Thank you.
Gotcha.
So one of the things that we talk about on this show, but also I talk about in Project Censored, is media literacy and how it's so important so that you have a bullshitometer so that when you read something like this headline, your head goes, and all the alarm bells go off and you just go bullshit. Listen to this, folks. In rare alliance, Democrats and Republicans seek legal power to clear homeless camps.
Kumbaya, my lord. They came together. Oh, yeah, that's right. This is one of these fucking papers that forced me to allow ads in order to look at it. But anyway, they came together to clear homeless camps.
Because, they never work together on things like war or making sure that people don't have health care or child care or livable wage. They never work together on those things. So this is really beautiful to see them working together on basically trying to murder homeless people. That's really, really great.
Yeah, so what we're saying sarcastically is, of course, they work together on fucking everything. They do a show of how they disagree on tiny little band-aids, like whether Joe Biden is going to be able to eliminate 0.0001% of student loan debt. So they'll have a fight over that, a drop-down, drag-out fight over that. Meanwhile, they're agreeing on basically everything about how capitalism works. All of our endless wars, sending just fucking cluster bombs to kill children in Ukraine, pushing for a proxy war in Ukraine, all the economic war that's done against Venezuela, Syria, Iran, Haiti, fucking, you read the list for the next 45 minutes. It's 30-some countries have economic war perpetrated against them right now by the United States. How much disagreement do you see in our Congress? They agree on really everything. And they have to find those little things to act like they violently disagree.
And I hate to,
and here they've come together to beat up homeless people.
I hate to make this sound overly simplistic, but it really is. Do you know what causes homelessness? Yeah. Well, I was gonna make it more verbose, but you made it really fucking simple. I was gonna say not having access to your basic needs.
Yeah.
Not having access to a home, of course. That's a big one. Not having
with 17 million empty houses.
Not having access to healthcare. Not having access to a way to fund the things that your life will require, not having access to mental health care and physical health care. A lot of people make this argument like, oh, well, even if you give some of these people an apartment, they're still doing drugs. Well, then give them health care. Drugs are a public health issue. Yeah. They are not a crime issue. So make sure that these people have a safe place to address their needs. And, I don't know, maybe the core reason why they're doing drugs, maybe to escape this hellscape of a system that we have. So in this wonderful article, it says, quote, in a surge of legal briefs this week, frustrated leaders from across the political spectrum, including the liberal governor of California and right-wing state legislators in Arizona, charged that homeless encampments were turning their public spaces into pits of squalor, and asked the Supreme Court to revisit lower court decisions that they say have hobbled their ability to bring these camps under control.
By the way, could give everyone housing instantly.
Absolutely. So what they're talking about is the ability to forcibly remove people
and put them
basically just moving them. Basically denying their basic civil and human rights. Now, for instance, like, and when I say just moving them, yes, we have the instances where they'll literally bus them to other cities. But for instance, in DC, what happened a lot of times was when they were building like these luxury condos, they'd move them to a less desirable area. Okay, you can't be here anymore because some rich assholes are going to buy some some real estate. So we're forcing you to move to this less desirable area of town. And by less desirable, I mean there will be fewer rich white folks around.
It's
to
usually
see you.
like a toxic, polluted factory area or like old factory area or something.
So basically, these penis wrinkles are complaining that the unhoused that their policies create are making their cities look bad. So they'd like the ability, Supreme Court, please, to forcibly remove them and pretend that they have no basic human rights so that they can look better and they can walk down the street without seeing the effects of their shitty governance. I mean, is that so much to ask?
Yeah. Let's just cover up the dystopian world that we've created for so many people. We don't like to see it. But the other thing is, you go in, they go in and they abuse these people. They often trash or crush their tents, which is like the only thing they have in the world. So taking their only worldly possessions, which apparently it's illegal to steal from people unless you're homeless, and then you can just steal all the fuck you want if you're cops and just throw it out and destroy it. So they destroy the tents.
Like just came to your house and bulldozed it, and we're like, well, we wanted you to move.
We felt like you should move. And in DC, they were bulldozing tents, and they accidentally half bulldozed a man who was sleeping in one of the tents, because that's how they do this shit. And then they move them to, like you said, a less desirable place of the city. It's all fucking horrific. And all of this is on top of the fact that if you gave every person their own house, there would still be millions of empty houses in the United States. There are upwards of 16, 17 million empty houses. That's not living spaces. That's houses. Then if you count living spaces, millions and millions littering the landscape, because this is how capitalism works. Puts all the wealth in the hands of a tiny number of individuals. They have multiple houses. They're not living in them. They're not using them. Some of them just invest in them, quote unquote. They buy houses to sell them later, whatever. Millions of houses. No one's in them, yet we are going to bulldoze homeless camps to make their life more miserable. And finally, just one more thing. There is a solution that other than just give them their own, one of the empty houses, but literally they could give them an apartment, a studio apartment, one room, could give each of these homeless people a studio apartment, and it actually saves the state money. They tried it in Utah. It decreased homelessness by 95% and saved the state something like $15,000 per person. So it's saving money by giving them a studio apartment and giving them a social worker. And yeah, it's not going to work for everyone. Some people have so much mental illness going on that they still end up on the street, but it works for a vast majority of them.
Right. And I think, again, like there's a lot of reasons that come together, right? That what's the word?
Dovetail, unite.
Yeah. On the issue of homelessness. But the issue is homeless. They're unhoused. So if you house them, then you can more easily access those other issues. Because again, one of the problems aside from the forcible removal, is that people who are working with the unhoused, advocates for the unhoused, can't find the people that they were just working with to try to get them benefits or to try to link them up with this or that or the other, because now they've been forcibly removed. And maybe they didn't want to be forcibly removed. So they would, fuck this, I'm going to go to this other place that I heard about. And so now they're lost. And so the person that was trying to work with them, or, their friends or whatever, completely fucking lost. And I know that some people are like, well, why, those shelters. And first of all, there's not a lot of shelters accessible. Secondly, a lot of these places are rife with abuse.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, especially if there's a family situation, if you have your kid with you or if you have your partner, they'll split you up. So the idea that, there's shelters, first of all, shelters are disgusting in this country. If you've ever seen one, they're not appropriate for the.
Sometimes you can't have your dog, you can't have your stuff. There's a million reasons people don't go to shelters.
Besides the fact that oftentimes they're overtaxed, they're full. So yeah, there's a simple, it starts with a simple solution. Give a shit about people.
Give a shit about humans. But yeah. This great propaganda coming from the San Francisco
Chronicle
Tribune or
Seattle Times.
I was way off. Seattle Times.
You're making me wrong.
Seattle Times. I thought Seattle was supposed to be one of these.
I think it might have
lovey-dovey liberal places.
I think it might have originated in the New York Times, but I can't get the New York Times. So
But
anyway,
wouldn't it say
Yes.
that? Oh, from the New York Times. You're right. So this is
I
New
don't
York
know
Times.
when the New York Times has gotten anything wrong, guys.
Yeah, no, they get it all right. But the propaganda to say, but it's great to see Democrats and Republicans
Right.
coming together.
Look, this is atrocious anti-human legislation,
know-
but they're working
You
together.
know, I just saw the entire Canadian Parliament come together.
It's true.
So that was
That was a
exciting.
beautiful thing.
That was a beautiful thing to see.